Well, I've got a confession. I'm not normal. I know what you're saying. You're looking at me. Saying, well, he looks normal, right? I don't know a lot about him. I haven't Googled him yet, but he's normal height, normal clothes. But I see dead people. In case you're wondering, no, I'm not the guy from The Sixth Sense. You can IMDb him later. I don't have any supernatural powers. I don't own a Ouija board that I do late night or on Halloween. Here's what I have. I have an internet connection. See, today in 2014, our dearly departed, they're living ever robust lives online. Think about it. The videos, the pictures, the tweets that you'll leave behind once you pass away. Well, I have good news, or maybe strange news. Breathing and heartbeats and death is no longer going to get in the way of producing original content. It used to be simple, right? I'll break it down. I didn't know the math skills in this room, wasn't sure, so I made a very simple equation, right? You're alive, you're able to produce content. You're dead, you stop producing content, right? Pretty simple. No longer, you might have seen on YouTube, on the interwebs, you might have seen Tupac or Michael Jackson, their holograms still producing content. Well, most of us aren't Tupac or Michael Jackson, so rest assured, we have good news. We have a company like Lives On. Anybody familiar with Lives On? What Lives On is, it's a company that's going to allow you to tweet after you're dead. And I'm not talking about a staggered tweet, right? Maybe you're on your deathbed and you're saying, I don't want to talk to my relatives. I never really liked them anyways. I'm going to compile a lot of information that I'm going to tweet out to my 231 followers after I die. No, what this does is it creates an algorithm of who you are, and it produces entirely new content after you're dead. I wish I could make up stuff as good as the real world. Here's their slogan. When your heart stops beating, you'll keep tweeting. Because, you know, that's what the world needs. It needs more tweets, right? We wanted flying cars, we got 140 characters, as the saying goes. My idea, worth spreading, is that our communication has dramatically changed today. It used to go in a quite linear fashion from birth to death. You would produce content. You know who is living and you know who is dead. We had convenient ways of urns and graves. I see who's alive and I see who's dead. You're walking around, you're alive, you're 6 feet under, you're dead. But if we look at our analog and digital lives, our lives are increasingly becoming digitalized. And with the digital future, it's hard to tell who's alive and who is dead. This is not sci-fi. This is real. This is something we're going to have to deal with. Some of the things I'm talking about is how this can sometimes be mentally discomforting. Again, it's funny, but it's also slightly creepy. Here's the problem, and here's why I first started thinking about this issue. About 4.5 years ago, when I was on Facebook, still on Facebook, I got a friend request. Does anybody ever take a little while to get around to a friend request? Right? Sometimes they just hang there for a little bit. So I got a friend request from somebody I knew vaguely in high school, Jared. And I got the request, and I didn't get around to accepting it yet, but I was going to. In between the time it was sent and before I confirmed it, I heard disturbing news from a mutual acquaintance. Jared, who sent me that friend request, had committed suicide. So while Jared had left, the friend request had stayed. Think about that. That's why it's mentally troublesome. Because we think of the internet in the present tense. Even though he sent me the request 2 weeks ago, every time I log on, there's a smiling face of somebody I know has committed suicide, and I'm thinking, why is he sending me a friend request now he is dead? I haven't talked to my father since January 2013. Kind of looks like a Brooklyn hipster, but this is in the 70s. Everything kind of comes back. We didn't get in an argument. In 2013, he passed away from pancreatic cancer. There are, of course, days where I expect a notification, right? You expect some type of email, right? So maybe I check my phone instead of getting Groupon, it's a message from my father. For a guy specialized in gallows humor, post-death communication would seemingly offer an endless amount of comedic possibilities. Right? If I received a text right now and it's from my dad and it said, "Stop doing that!" exclamation point, it would probably freak me out. I would stop, my God, I'm sorry about that, right? And I know what you're all wondering. Would my dad use emojis? But here's the future. Kind of like those silly t-shirts you might have had as a kid from Bermuda. Here's the updated one for our modern life. Someone I love died and all I got was a lousy tweet. Even though this emerging technology is new, the concept of shifting time is old-fashioned. Consider the concept of a message in a bottle. Everybody has a message in a bottle. Think about what we were trying to do or are trying to do with a message in a bottle, right? We put a message in a bottle. We're looking like Tom Hanks on an island. We need to throw something out. Just talking to our volleyball Wilson. We send out the message in a bottle. It takes a while at sea. Somebody retrieves it. They take it out, and they read it. Okay? We shifted time because there might be a lot of transition between when I wrote that on that tropical island and when somebody receives it. The issue that we're going to have to deal with is what about when we create new content? So when I sent that message in a bottle and somebody receives it, it came from me but shifted time. But what about when new content is being stuffed in that is self-generated through an algorithm? These are serious issues that we have to deal with. So right now, if I had terminal cancer, would I set up an account? Would I set up an account where every anniversary I send my wife a message saying, "Happy anniversary"? Right now I can never forget. I won't even forget in death. This is great, right? Maybe I'll send her something saying, "I hope you're not dating." Right? That would might really freak somebody out. But these are the issues we're going to have to face, right? How can somebody move on? If I wanted to talk to my dad right now, I actually could. Check it out on Autonomy. That's a new company out of MIT. This is directly off their website. Here is what they do. So it generates a virtual you, an avatar that emulates your personality and can interact with and offer information and advice to your family and friends, even after you pass away. Whoa, let's stop the train here. Let's think about that. That actually means that I could have a conversation today with my father about this TEDx talking about my dead father and post-death communication. That should blow your meta mind. This is what we actually have to deal with. Directly from the website, this is the goal. It's something we've always wondered about, right? The goal, simply become immortal. Age-old quest, right? Since Ponce de Leon, searching for the fountain of youth. So it's two-sided. As a person who is going to die, we're all going to die, you might want to live forever. And as a loved one, you might want to communicate forever. One of the things we have to wonder about, though, is this some digital Faustian bargain? Are we really becoming immortal? How many sci-fi movies do you have to watch before you realize that going after immortality doesn't usually end well by the end credits? This is the issue. Are we becoming an algorithm? And think about this, right? A tournament, companies like that might be well-intentioned. Be immortal, communicate with the dead. Sounds great, right? But let's go back to the message in the bottle. My dad, before he died, had sent messages to me, maybe in a letter, then I could receive that, and that is attributed to him. Those are his words that he postponed. But now when new content is being created, do I attribute it to him? If he stuffs this message in this bottle and I receive it, but that message was put there after he is dead, how am I viewing him? Am I reducing him to an algorithm? If I accept that as human communication, as coming from a human, am I reducing myself to an algorithm? This was covered by tech visionary Jaron Lanier of Microsoft in his book, You Are Not a Gadget. Here's what he has to say. It takes only a tiny group of engineers to create technology that can shape the entire future of human experience with great speed. Therefore, crucial arguments about the human relationship with technology should take place between developers and users before such direct manipulations are designed. Go back to that Ouija board. Anybody own a Ouija board or own one in the past? Think about that concept. Why do we find them so fascinating yet so creepy? Pretty obvious, right? We have a natural desire to want to communicate with the dead. But deep down, we know that's probably not a good idea. That might open up some emotional Pandora's box. See, here's the thing. If I cut myself right now on this message in a bottle, if I cut myself, I would bleed. It wouldn't be a stream of zeros and ones, but actual blood. And of course, as a human, it's a natural desire to want to communicate. Of course I would want to talk to the dead. Of course you would want to talk to the dead. But I was there, right? I was there on January 12th, right? To hear the last breaths, to feel a dying pulse, to actually put down the eyelids. Maybe I'm just human-centric, but I deeply believe that we are more complicated than code. And what we need is not just tech setting the tone. These are major emerging technologies that are bound to be adopted. But you know what we need? We need school teachers, psychologists, attorneys, other voices. Perhaps we bring in the saints and the poets. We need to have an honest debate. Just because we can do something with technology doesn't always mean we should. It's time to have that conversation. Thank you.